Hi guys, welcome to Money by Sunny. In this video, we'll be looking at the 8 best ways to create and accumulate wealth. Tip number 8 in particular is something that I feel tends to get overlooked by many people, but is nonetheless an important building block to wealth creation. Before we dig into these 8 tips though, let's first define things to make sure that we're on the same page. We use the term financial wealth here to ensure that we're talking about financial riches and not other possible definitions such as health, mental well-being, etc. Not saying that those aren't important, because they certainly are. But for this video, we'll be focusing on financials. Financial wealth means a level of net worth or assets, cash, property, investments, etc., which allows you to maintain your lifestyle at a specific standard of living. It's a portfolio of assets that generates income and allows you to maintain your standard of living without having to work a 9-to-5. Do note, however, that this is not financial advice, as this is merely for educational and entertainment purposes. Definitions and disclaimer done. Now let's get into it. Tip number 1. Develop good saving habits. Saving money is difficult for many people. Very often, we think of buying things to make us happy in the short term before we think of saving. And after that money has been spent on something, there's often not much left over to be saved. However, in order to get you started on the road to wealth, regular saving is a must-have. A good way to start out is by deciding on a monthly amount that you'll save. This amount could be a percentage of your salary or even a fixed amount. One strategy is to put your savings on auto transfer each month. This is where your bank withdraws the necessary amount from your checking account and transfers it into a savings account. It's also important to start saving as early as possible so that you can take advantage of compound interest. The earlier you start saving, the more your money will work for you, and the more you'll accumulate as a result. Tip number 2. Be frugal. Trimming your expenses by adopting a frugal mindset is another key step to wealth, since it makes your money go further by maximizing your income. Developing a budget and reducing expenses is not rocket science. It's something that can be accomplished by anyone with just a little bit of guidance. And it's very possible to save money on the items that you purchase and have a more enjoyable time in the long run. Some examples are to make it a habit of packing your lunch instead of eating out too often. You can also make your food last longer by getting creative with your food preparation and cooking. Gas or petrol is also another significant expense that can be minimized by using public transport as much as possible. In short, there are multiple ways of lowering your spending, which will help you grow your bottom line and your wealth faster. Tip number 3. Get a higher paying job. Reducing expenses and saving money is very important, but so is making more of it. When it comes to building wealth, you need to focus on your earning potential and salary. This could entail negotiating a pay raise at your current job, or it could mean looking for another job that offers a higher salary. When it comes to raises, don't be afraid to ask. In many cases, companies are not exactly proactive in giving raises to their employees. So a good way to trigger a raise is to ask for one. Of course, you'll need to be in good standing with your employer and be able to demonstrate how you have contributed to them in a positive way before you take this route. Moving to a different company for a higher salary is another option. For this, you'll need to update your resume or CV and actively seek a position. You can do this by scanning online job boards such as Monster or LinkedIn, and also by getting in touch with friends, former coworkers, or colleagues who are now at other companies. While shifting to a new employer may be uncomfortable in the short term, since you'll need to adjust to the new surroundings and new coworkers, the financial rewards could be worth it. Tip number 4. Create multiple streams of income. In the engineering world, there is a concept known as a single point of failure. Basically, what this means is that if one key part of an engineering design fails, the entire design can be compromised. One example of this phenomenon is that if there is a leak in an oil pipeline, the entire pipeline can then be degraded with no flow of oil. Similarly, if you rely on only one stream of income, you're playing a dangerous game. If you're a 9-to-5-er, there is always the risk of getting laid off or made redundant. Sure, you could find another job, but that could take some months. In the meantime, you'll be without income, and your wealth building will definitely take a hit. So it's essential to make sure that you have more than one income stream. This could mean taking up a side hustle, or renting out a property, or even Airbnb a spare room in your house or apartment, or investing in a dividend stock. There are many ways of doing it, but it's important to get it done so that you remove your own single point of failure. Tip number 5. Invest regularly. When it comes to investing, we often hear the adage, buy low, sell high. This is a good principle to follow, but how do you know when prices are low? This is called trying to time the market. In other words, this is a strategy that involves predicting when a falling market will change direction and start increasing, so that you can start buying and make a profit. However, the simple fact is that it's nearly impossible to do this consistently because the market is just too unpredictable. Instead, it's better to invest at regular periods, a fixed amount monthly, for example, rather than trying to pick a bottom. In this way, you spread out your risk and rely on the law of averages rather than luck. Tip number 6. Diversify your investments. Diversifying your investments is one of the smartest ways to build wealth and have your money work for you. For example, investing in stocks will be more effective when the stocks are not in the same industry. This will increase your chances of investing in a company that has earned a profit and whose stock price will rise. Investing in companies in the same industry will mean putting all your eggs in one basket, which on average is not the best way to maximize your returns. This is similar to the single point of failure concept that we talked about in tip number 4 earlier. If one particular industry tanks for whatever reason, at least you're not completely exposed, since you're invested in other industries as well. You can also extend this principle to asset types. For example, it's best to spread your investments across stocks, bonds, real estate, and other asset classes such as crypto, so that your wealth isn't tied to the fate of one particular asset type. And you can always adjust how much you invest in each asset type according to the risk level. For example, bond exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, tend to be steadier and less volatile as compared to crypto, so you might want to allocate more of your investment amount to that. Tip number 7. Protect yourself and your assets with insurance. While you can lay out your plan for growing your wealth in great detail, one thing you can't account for is the unpredictability of life. This is why it's important to safeguard yourself by insuring what's important. This means making sure that yourself and your loved ones are covered from a life and health or medical insurance standpoint. Medical and hospital costs can be astronomical, so don't underestimate them. In terms of your wealth, your highest value assets also need to be protected. This could mean taking out fire or property insurance for your properties, as well as insuring any other important income-generating assets that you may have. Just like savings, the concept of starting early is important. This is especially vital for life and medical insurance. The younger you are when you start, the lower your premiums are likely to be. Tip number 8. Don't be afraid to take risks. A lot of people shy away from taking risks, which is understandable as it's how our brains are wired. But the negative point of this is that people are scared of failing more than they are excited about the potential of succeeding. After all, if you don't try, you're guaranteeing that you're not going to succeed. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be reckless and put your money into every risky venture that you come across. But often, the best opportunities all carry some level of risk. For example, some high-risk assets, such as growth stocks, tend to also be high return over the long term. What can happen in the meantime is that you may see a lot of of ups and downs with that stock, but that is the price to pay for a potentially higher return in future. Starting a business also involves some level of risk, since you'll need to invest in it to grow it. But that business could be your ticket to riches. In short, there's no one 100% answer, but the fact is that you will need to take some level of risk to grow your wealth. There you have it. I'm sure these 8 principles will be super useful and help set you on the path to growing your wealth. If you like this video, please do subscribe and leave us a comment. See you next time on Money by Sunny.